Have you been feeling like you're stuck, you're uninspired, your creativity has completely dried up? Well, if that's you, then this is the podcast episode that will help you be able to figure out how to rewire your brain for flow state. Welcome back to another podcast episode with me, Dr. Trish Leigh, your hostess with the mostest, hopefully, for all intents and purposes at least. I am here to talk about how digital distractions, supernormal stimuli are hijacking your brain's creativity. Now, if you're pulled in and sucked into the screen and you don't know how to get back out and how to get back on purpose, fueled by passion in the real world, then listen up. Let us dive in so we can point the way forward. Okay. Well, I first want to remind you that this podcast is sponsored by my outreach program, pornbrainprevention.org. We are in the midst of renaming it, the exciting rename rollout, which will have a wider lens of helping people with all digital dependencies, from social media to endless scrolling to, of course, explicit content, and even short form, long form video, social media, all of it. We're expanding that lens. So please go over to pornbrainprevention.org and donate, because there is where you can go upstream and help me help future generations and the kids of today to not get addicted to their screens, especially explicit matter. I match every donation, so please help the cause. Okay, so let's talk about your creativity's been hijacked. You don't feel like you have the ideas that you used to, or the clarity maybe, or maybe your purpose has faltered. I want you to know that social media in particular, but screens in general, are hijacking that intuitive, innate spark that you have inside. I love calling it the spark because I believe that our divine creation and inspiration, the very top 1% version of ourselves, is inside. It's inside. It's that light you feel when you dial down the noise of the world. The world is so overstimulating in today's day and age that you have to very intentionally try not to get hijacked, because if you're not intentional, you will be hijacked. We have algorithms that are engineered for the new economy attention. These algorithms are pulling you in. They're like quicksand. They're very difficult to come back out of once you have sunk in deep enough. So first and foremost, I want you to know that boredom is the place that creativity lands. And nobody's been bored since the dawn of the internet in 1991. Child psychologists back in the 90s said that. They studied boredom. Child psychologists confirmed this. They studied creativity back in the 1990s, and they found it was boredom that allowed creativity to grow. That's when the default mode network in the brain engages. That's when you can have those ideas and those inspirations. Now, I remember my childhood. Literally, me and this kid, Tommy, I don't remember his last name, we would climb this tree and sit in it for hours. You know why? Because my parents would push all 6 of us children out the door in the morning, especially during the summer, and said, "Don't come back until lunch." And of course, we'd come back at lunch covered in mud with scraped knees. We'd have some worms with us. Hopefully, we were avoiding tetanus that day. If you grew up when I did, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It involved a lot of boredom, which led to a lot of creativity. The world doesn't work that way anymore. Every child basically has a phone in their pocket. They have distraction or entertainment, depending upon how you look at it, at their fingertip. So nobody sits around being bored, or very few kids sit around being bored. Very few adults sit around being bored. With my children, as they grew up, we would still make forts. We would literally nail or pushpin blankets into the walls because I preferred the creativity of fort building over clean walls. The kids would say, "Can I build a fort?" Absolutely. Is it going to leave holes in the wall? Undoubtedly. But that's where they would spend hours. Even not that long ago, and most of my kids are young adults now, they built the most epic fort out of the entire top floor of the house. Well, minus my office. My office is on the very top. On the second floor, where all their bedrooms are, and there were blankets and pillows that covered the entire hallway. It was literally epic. We left it that way as long as we could before everybody had to take their blankets and pillows back. So fun. And then they laid around, they made games, epically fun. My son Declan, we were talking about it the other day. When we lived at our old house before we moved, they had scooters, and he created this song. It was Parking Lot on the Roll, Let's Go. And they sang it over and over and over and over, taking their scooters in this loop, doing all this pretend imaginative play. Amazing, right? This is what we need back, not only for our children, but for you, for adults. You need time to play and have fun. You think it's wasting time. You are wrong. This is where creativity is born. So now we have a world of overstimulated people. Instead of playing all day during the summer, we are locked inside. We are no longer impacted by Schumann's resonance, the resonance of the earth that calibrates our brains to calm focus. Instead, we're in front of our screens that resonate at 50 to 60 hertz, jacking our brains up. This is true. This is what's happening. This leads to overstimulation, and our nervous systems become stuck in fight or flight, survival, work, productivity mode, then consumption mode to attempt to take the edge off of the productivity mode. This is the opposite of a regulated brain. It's a highly dysregulated brain, and it manifests like this: stimulation, crash, numbness. Right? You've felt it. That makes you push harder. You're more tired, so you hit the caffeine more. You stay up late. You are chasing the inevitable, right? The inevitable is that crash, but you're trying to get more done. On. It reminds me of Tom and Jerry, that off-color cartoon from ages ago, near the 90s and even older. It now comes with a cultural warning, but you can still remember that Tom was the cat and he was constantly chasing Jerry. They didn't pause enough to think. They were in reaction mode at all times. This is what's happened to so many of us. This is what we have to walk away from. This creates red zones of chaos in the brain. I've seen it on thousands of QEEG brain maps. Brains that are stuck in high beta, survival mode, fight or flight. And your system will calibrate to it so you forget how stressed you are. I think that's the most insidious thing. And those creative networks, they go offline. That survival mode and looking for dopamine from the screen, they increase. So let's think about it. I've been into the sacred science lately, reading scholars and theologians, because these ideas, this blew my mind. These ideas are not new ones. People have been proclaiming them for literally centuries. And St. Thomas Aquinas said this. He said, the light of the intellect is a participation in the eternal light. To me, that's that spark inside. The more dysregulated you are, the less you can tap into it. The less you can be that version of yourself that you want to be. This is why I ask people to reverse engineer the life that they want. So think about yourself on your deathbed or when you're older, if you don't want to go that grim, looking back at your life. I think it allows you to have the perspective to say, oh no, man, I am not going to live my life like this. And you can make changes before it's late in the game, because so many people get to that last season of their life and they look back with regret. I don't want to have that regret. So I constantly keep thinking, is this the life that I want? Like, do I want to look back and see myself making podcasts for people? You know the answer. Yes. Do I want to be that mom who has holes in the wall? Yeah, because that's where the fun is. We still do it. If something weird takes us over in the kitchen, even though they're young adults, I'm like, game on. Let's see where this takes us. It takes us into laughter and love every time. Yeah, sometimes there's cleanup, but that's okay. So think about it. When your days are numbered, are you doing what you want to do? My hope is yes. That's the inner light. When you're stuck in your screen all the time, you're dimming it. You're dimming it with the noise, and you know this feeling. If you go on social media, an hour later, you don't have one thought of your own. You cannot have any thoughts after so much passive consumption of other people's thoughts, most of which are fantasy or nonsense. They're not real. You're passively consuming an unreality. And what you're foregoing is your reality, the one that you could have, the one you want. I don't want you to do that. So I'm going to tell you a story of one person that I work with, but I want you to think of this as kind of, could be your story. It's an executive that I work with who he runs a company which is at risk because honestly, he can barely think anymore. Energy levels are low, cognition decreasing, memory going down, concentration, focus, completely stuck in the screen, all levels of supernormal stimuli hijacking his brain. Supernormal stimuli are all those notifications, pings, hypersexualized content. He's in. He's not even in deep. He's just in like most people are. And now he can't focus. He can't make the decisions that he wants to for his company. He feels very vulnerable and he cannot think his way out. He can't see it. There's too much noise. There's too much chaos and he cannot step away from it. When he steps away from it, his brain will rewire. Brains are being miswired by the algorithm. We have a generation. We know this. Science is showing it. A generation of people who are miswiring their brains for supernormal stimuli. The solution? Backing out and becoming supernormal. Deciding right here, right now, that you are going to be a top 1% person with intention. I'm going to give you 3 steps, 3 brain hack steps that you can implement right away to reignite that creative flow. Now, I use the word flow intentionally. Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, one of my greatest mentors who researched and showed how to not only get into flow state, but how people stay there, showed that when your brain is optimized, when I see that green zone in the brain map, that's when you can tap into creativity. I saw an almost green brain map over the weekend. It was amazing. I love it. I love seeing it. So this is what I want you to know. Your creativity is not gone. It's buried. You have to make space for it to come out. All right, here's my 3 neuroscience-backed steps for you to rewire your brain back to creativity. Number 1, silence. Create silence. Trigger it. Trigger creativity through silence. Every morning I get up and I sit in silence for 1 hour. I sit on my back porch. This morning it was still dark, listening to the birds, watching. Actually, I couldn't see it. I could hear hummingbirds flittering in this morning. 5 minutes even. No phone, no background noise, no chitter chatter of people, complete silence. See where your thoughts take you. Write them down or push them away. Try to activate that default mode network. You will be amazed at what sparks of creativity may come from those silent moments. Number 2, establish some boundaries around your inputs. Don't allow whatever you want to come in. You have to choose what and when you consume. Turn off your notifications, limit your passive scrolling, filter out the content that doesn't serve you. That might be hypersexualized content. It might just be things that pop up on social media that are either drama, violence, or hypersexuality. Those are the main things. You choose what you consume informs your mind, right? It's your mind diet. So make sure what you're taking in is leading you toward your goals in life, not away. And number 3, give your brain space to explore. Doodle, write, draft some ideas. I like to write all over my notebooks, which I realized before I started recording are on the table behind me. I left them there. I always have those very notebooks. Those are them. Those are 3 real journals that I work in. I draw all over them. I write words. I connect dots. I use a lot of arrows. I come up with a lot of what I consider to be snappy phrases. What did I come up with today? Delusional defense. There's 3 of them. I can't remember. It's 3 Ds. Something about delusional defenses. Our delusional defenses are we anchor into this fantasy and this unreality in social media, and then we convince ourselves that's what we want. It's the silence and the exploration that allow you to see what you really want, what your heart's desire is. I want you to remember your mind, it's fertile soil. You have to be careful what you plant. And we're seeing this in very destructive ways these days. Okay, so here's my challenge for you today. What is one silence that you will create for yourself today so you can have some creative thoughts through the default mode network engagement? Find some silence. Turn off this podcast right now after you go to drtrishleigh.com and check out my programs and get silence. It will serve you. Your brain will thank you. If you want more help on this journey or you want to see what your brain is doing, please go over to Dr. Trish Leigh, read about brain mapping and how you can see how your brain is stuck, how it's been hijacked, how your creativity's been hijacked, and what you can do to rewire it. If you're caught up in the loop of explicit matter, please get my book, Mind Over Explicit Matter, right here. Get a copy of this book. It's helped thousands and thousands of people, and if you need it, it will help you too. You can also check out my program, Pleasure Pathways Reset, if explicit matter is taking you down. Now is the time, my friend. Don't look back and see all the future that you could have reclaimed for yourself. Reclaim it now. Okay. As always, remember, control your brain or it'll control you. I'll see you next time.